On April 19, 2011, BlackBerry launched a tablet for business users that could not, by itself, read BlackBerry email. It was called the PlayBook. It launched in the United States and Canada at $409 for the 16GB Wi-Fi model, sleek, compact, powered by a new operating system called QNX that BlackBerry had acquired the year before. At launch, it did not include native email, or native calendar, or native contacts. For those, users needed to pair it with a BlackBerry phone using a feature called BlackBerry Bridge. So the company that had made its name putting email in your pocket built a tablet that needed another device to do email properly. This is roughly like a camera company launching a camera that requires another camera to take pictures. Not impossible, just a little demanding. The PlayBook looked like a tablet problem. It was really a company problem. The usual BlackBerry story is clean, simple, and mostly wrong in the way clean, simple stories often are. Research in Motion, based in Waterloo, Ontario, built the defining business phone of the 2000s. BlackBerry devices were secure, reliable, and very good at one job, moving messages quickly between important people who wore dark suits and had calendar invitations where lunch should have been. Executives carried them. So did lawyers, bankers, and most governments worth the name. The keyboard became a status symbol, and the blinking red notification light became a tiny emergency siren for people who already had enough emergencies. Then Apple announced the iPhone in January 2007 and released it in June. Android followed. Touchscreens became normal. People started buying phones for browsers, maps, music, games, photos, and software catalogs, not only for email. In the common version of the story, BlackBerry was proud. It underestimated touchscreens, underestimated apps, defended the keyboard too long, and the market moved, while BlackBerry did not. Some of that is true. BlackBerry did defend the keyboard. It did arrive late to modern touch software. It did struggle with developers and consumer expectations. But the simple story misses something. In fiscal 2011, Research in Motion reported about $19.9 billion in revenue and about $3.4 billion in net income. Its annual report said BlackBerry was deployed by more than 90% of Fortune 500 companies. BBM had more than 39 million users. This was not a company with no assets. It had devices, messaging, enterprise software, carrier relationships, a global data network, security credibility, and one of the most recognizable mobile brands on Earth. And that was part of the problem. After 2007, BlackBerry did not have no answer. It had too many answers, and several of them contradicted each other. The margin note is this: BlackBerry did not fail because it could not imagine the future. It failed because it imagined too many futures at the same time. Enterprise security company, consumer smartphone company, carrier-friendly network operator, tablet maker, messaging platform, modern OS vendor, eventually automotive supplier. BlackBerry wanted to be all of them, mostly at once, mostly under one brand. Each of those futures made sense on its own. Enterprise customers wanted control, reliability, auditability, and long support cycles. Consumers wanted glass screens, smooth interfaces, cameras, games, and apps that arrived before their friends stopped talking about them. Carriers liked BlackBerry's efficient data infrastructure because BlackBerry compressed traffic and reduced network strain. Developers wanted scale, modern tools, and a clear commitment to one platform. Hardware teams still had millions of keyboard loyalists. Product teams could see touchscreens taking over. These were not just different product features, they were different companies hiding inside one company. 3 products show the tension. The BlackBerry Storm, launched in November 2008, was a touchscreen phone that still wanted to behave like a keyboard. The PlayBook, launched on April 19, 2011, was a professional tablet that arrived without native email. BlackBerry 10, launched on January 30, 2013, was a modern QNX-based phone platform that arrived after iOS and Android had already captured users, developers, and habits. The problem was not one bad product, it was timing, identity, and resource allocation, all wearing the same black plastic case. Follow the company through 3 attempted futures: the touchscreen future, the tablet future, and the software future that arrived wearing the wrong uniform. The BlackBerry storm was what happens when a company accepts the new interface but not quite the new assumption behind it. In November 2008, Research in Motion launched its first major keyboardless touchscreen phone. On paper, this looked like the obvious response to the iPhone. Apple had removed the physical keyboard. BlackBerry would do the same. But the storm screen physically clicked. The whole display acted like a large button. Press down, feel the click, confirm the action. The idea was to preserve the certainty of a BlackBerry keyboard while moving to a glass front. Touchscreen, but not too touchscreen. A compromise, which is often what happens when a company knows the market has changed but trusts its old instincts more than the new evidence. BlackBerry's strength was precision. Tiny keys, fast email, muscle memory, the ability to type under a conference table while pretending to listen. The iPhone's strength was different. It treated the phone as a sheet of software where the interface could change depending on the task. The storm tried to make glass behave like a button. That was not a trivial design choice. It showed how BlackBerry understood the threat. The company saw the surface change. People wanted touchscreens, but did not accept the deeper one. People were becoming comfortable with phones that felt less like tools and more like flexible software canvases. For BlackBerry, a phone was still a communication instrument. For Apple, and later Android, a phone was becoming a general-purpose computer with a radio inside. The storm was not just a product misfire, it was a negotiation between two eras, and BlackBerry wanted to enter the touchscreen market without abandoning the logic that had made BlackBerry valuable. Not the most elegant way to tell customers the future had arrived. The storm was still a phone. The next experiment asked BlackBerry to become something stranger, an iPad competitor. On September 27, 2010, RIM announced the PlayBook. By April 19, 2011, it had turned a promising operating system into a public contradiction. The PlayBook had reasons to exist. Apple had launched the iPad in 2010. Tablets looked like the next major computing category. BlackBerry had enterprise relationships, mobile credibility, and a new technical foundation through QNX. A professional tablet from BlackBerry did not sound absurd. The difficulty was that the PlayBook was not asked to do one job. It was asked to do 5. It had to be an iPad response and a professional tablet. It had to showcase QNX, work as a companion to BlackBerry phones, and serve as a bridge toward the next BlackBerry operating system. That is a lot of responsibility for a 7-inch rectangle. As an iPad competitor, it needed polish, apps, and a reason for consumers to choose it over Apple's rapidly improving tablet. As a business tool, it needed email, calendar, and contacts on day one. As a QNX preview, it needed to prove BlackBerry had a modern software foundation. As a phone companion, it depended on a handset business that was already under pressure. The missing email became the symbol because it was so precise. BlackBerry was the email company. Its tablet did not have native email at launch. Some product decisions require analysis. Others arrive already highlighted. PlayBook OS 2.0 came on February 21, 2012, adding native email, calendar, contacts, and Android app support, about 10 months after launch. 10 months is a long time in consumer technology, especially when the product's central promise is professional productivity. It is longer when Apple is improving the iPad, Android tablets are competing on price and variety, and BlackBerry phones are losing their cultural grip. The PlayBook did not fail only because it was incomplete. It failed because its incompleteness revealed how unclear the assignment was. The reason the PlayBook mattered was not the tablet itself. It was the operating system underneath it. In 2010, RIM bought QNX, a small Ottawa-based software company whose technology was probably better suited to cars than to saving a phone brand in a hurry. QNX made reliable real-time operating systems. Its software was used in embedded and mission-critical contexts: automotive systems, industrial equipment, telecom, medical devices, aerospace, and other places where "try restarting the app" is not a comforting sentence. For Research in Motion, QNX made strategic sense. The old BlackBerry operating system was aging, and the company needed a modern foundation for tablets and phones. QNX offered stability, flexibility, and technical credibility. In another timeline, QNX might have been the center of a slower, cleaner reinvention: secure embedded systems, automotive software, enterprise mobility, infrastructure. Some of that did happen later. But in 2010 and 2011, QNX was not only a long-term software asset, it was also being asked to save the phone business, power the PlayBook, support BlackBerry 10, attract developers, reassure investors, and prove that RIM was not trapped in the past. A technically strong operating system is not automatically a successful phone platform. Phones need more than kernels and reliability. They need developers, familiar interface patterns, strong consumer services, retail excitement, carrier support, and enough users to make the whole thing feel inevitable. QNX gave BlackBerry a credible, long-term software future. The phone market was moving on a much shorter clock. That emergency rescue arrived as BlackBerry 10. Impressive and late, a combination markets rarely reward generously. On January 30, 2013, Research in Motion launched BlackBerry 10, introduced the Z10 and Q10, and renamed itself BlackBerry, a tidy bit of branding for an untidy moment. BlackBerry 10 had real ideas, built on QNX, gesture navigation, BlackBerry Hub, a unified place for messages and notifications. The Z10 offered the full touchscreen feature. The Q10 kept the physical keyboard for loyalists. Android app compatibility was meant to narrow the software gap. This was not a ridiculous product. It was not a company pressing random buttons in a dark room. There was logic here. The conditions were brutal. On June 28, 2012, RIM announced 5,000 job cuts and reported a quarterly loss of $518 million. It had 6,500 employees before the cuts. BlackBerry 10 slipped into the first quarter of 2013, missing the 2012 holiday season. By the time BB10 arrived, the iPhone had been on the market for more than 5.5 years. BlackBerry App World had launched in April 2009 after Apple's App Store. Android had spread across manufacturers and price points. Millions of users had already chosen phones, bought apps, learned gestures, stored photos, built habits, and taught their parents just enough to make switching painful. BB10 tried to answer all of BlackBerry's conflicting demands at once. Modern enough for consumers, secure enough for enterprise, familiar enough for keyboard users, new enough for reviewers, open enough for developers, controlled enough for IT departments, strong enough to reverse years of decline. Not a product brief, a wish list with a launch date. The Z10 and Q10 mapped the split. One device said BlackBerry was finally ready for the glass screen future. The other said BlackBerry still understood the people who never wanted to leave the keyboard behind. Both groups mattered. Serving both made sense, but every split focus cost time, attention, and clarity. BB10 was not ridiculous. It was answering a question the market had stopped asking BlackBerry. By late 2013, the company had to stop asking how to save the BlackBerry phone and start asking what, if anything, BlackBerry still was. On November 4, 2013, BlackBerry abandoned a planned sale, raised $1 billion, and put John Chen in charge of a company that had finally run out of spare futures. Thorsten Heinz was out. John S. Chen became executive chairman and interim CEO. The Fairfax buyout plan was scrapped. BlackBerry took financing through convertible debentures and began turning away from trying to win the smartphone war. This is where the usual story ends. BlackBerry lost, Apple and Android won, roll credits over a drawer full of old chargers. That ending is too neat. BlackBerry did not vanish. It shifted toward enterprise software, security, services, QNX, connected devices, and automotive uses. The handset business faded, but parts of the company's earlier bets survived in other forms. That is the useful part of the story. QNX was a future. So was enterprise security. So was mobile messaging, embedded software, and the basic prediction that phones would become central to work. The mistake was trying to make all of those futures save the same handset business, at the same time, under the same brand, while the market was moving faster than BlackBerry's internal transitions. Tech companies often do not shrink because they have no ideas. They shrink because they cannot decide which idea gets the company's full weight. A company can be early to one future, late to another, and still lose the present. BlackBerry had enterprise trust before mobile work became ordinary. It had BBM before messaging became social infrastructure, QNX before cars became rolling computers, and secure communications before security became a boardroom obsession. Those pieces were arranged around the wrong rescue mission. The phone had to carry everything: the keyboard legacy, the enterprise moat, the consumer comeback, the developer pitch, the tablet strategy, the QNX transition, the brand identity. The load became too heavy. BlackBerry is less a cautionary tale about ignoring change than about mistaking motion for direction. There is a version of the company's story where it never lacked imagination. It lacked sequence. One future needed to come first, with the others behind it. Instead, the company tried to build several at once, while Apple and Android made the smartphone market simpler for everyone else. Choose the screen, choose the apps, choose the platform, and move. BlackBerry kept choosing conjunctions: enterprise and consumer, keyboard and touchscreen, hardware and software, phones and tablets, messaging and infrastructure, QNX for the long term, and BB10 for the emergency. For a while, that made the company look busy. Then it made the company look confused. Then it made the company smaller. If this kind of margin note is useful, subscribing is a fairly low-friction way to see the next one. BlackBerry did not run out of futures, it ran out of time to choose one.